Dear Dragon Ball fans, should we love Caulifla or should we hate Caulifla? Well, beginning today, we're going to have a brand new series on this channel called Dear Dragon Ball Fans, where this is essentially going to be an in-depth answer from the heart, where we just talk. It's going to be a nice casual video. We just have a fun conversation about something that we feel is beneficial or detrimental to the Dragon Ball community. And what we're going to be talking about here today, guys, is actually dealing with Caulifla's character. And jumping right into the video, when Caulifla was first introduced to Dragon Ball, she definitely took the community by storm, right? And one of the key things that really made this video about Caulifla today was the fact that she's starting off her second battle with Goku today in the Dragon Ball Super English dub, and it really reminded myself of when she was first introduced and why there was so much hate for her character. And I was personally somebody who was neutral to Caulifla. You had those that were like, man, she's the super cool, strong woman, you know, promoting strong Dragon Ball women, more Caulifla, Caulifla is bae, you know, you had like that movement, right? And then you kind of had like the, you know, the screw Caulifla, she's too strong, you know, she's learning all of these attacks way too easily, she's a Mary Sue, you know, like Caulifla is just horrible for Dragon Ball, she's just being promoted because she's a woman and she looks good and, you know, she was just a strong female character that just learned all these Super Saiyan abilities. You had that sector, and then you kind of had people in the middle who were like, okay, well, she does have some negative things to her, and she also has some positive. And some of the positive things I really feel about Caulifla's character is the fact that, number one, she just stands out. You know, I mean, just taking it from physical appearance, right? Like, she has an absurd hairstyle to start off. She has, like, this punk rocker Saiyan-like gang to begin with things. And in addition to this, I also feel like Caulifla, you know, another thing about her character that was really cool was just the fact that she just didn't really back down from stronger Saiyans. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when it comes to Vegeta in early Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta was a character that kind of knew his place, right? Especially in the Namek arc. If you go back to, like, the Namek arc, right? Like, Vegeta never, like, tried to, like, go up against, like, Zarbon when he knew he couldn't beat Zarbon. Or he didn't try to, like, go up against Frieza when he knew he couldn't beat Frieza. Like, he was very cunning and intelligent on planet Namek, where he was throwing the Dragon Balls to get their attention, but he didn't get himself killed. Vegeta wasn't the type of character that just rushed into battle and just got himself killed, like how the show developed him to be later on, where you would see Vegeta was far more brash in his personality, and it wasn't like the more intelligent, cerebral Vegeta that we saw on planet Namek. And why do we bring all of this up? Well, we bring this up to say that Caulifla is essentially like Vegeta post-Namek arc, but also retaining Goku's childlike behavior and his eager for battle. And that's why I've said this in videos, but I haven't truly said this in depth like I have today, because I truly feel like when you analyze her character in depth, she is a complete 100% female version fusion of Goku and Vegeta to perfection. She is so much like Goku and Vegeta, it's literally like you took Goku and Vegeta, you put them in a lab, and then you got Caulifla. She's so much like both characters at the same time. And I feel like because of that, I feel like that adds some mystique to her character. In addition to this, I definitely feel like because of her stance in Dragon Ball Super as this leader of a gang, really adds this unique atmosphere to her, because if you really think about it, right, like, Planet Vegeta was kind of like this society where you kind of had Saiyans that were, you know, being sent off doing these missions and doing all their 9 yards, and, like, there wasn't really any, like, real Saiyan society in, like, a human-like way, where, like, you would have, like, a gang of punks that, like, want to rob from people who want to go to stores and stuff, or, like, you know, pulling over people's trucks like we saw Caulifla doing in the manga. Like, you just simply didn't see that in, you know, Dragon Ball Z with what we knew about Saiyan society. And Dragon Ball Super Broly didn't even think to touch on something like this. So when we saw Caulifla doing this, it really expanded her character in ways that we just haven't seen Saiyans do. And since, you know, the Universe 6 Saiyans live in way more peaceful times, having minor, you know, menaces to society such as Caulifla would definitely be something that would be realistic. She's not like this person who's trying to take over the world. She just wants to steal money and be kind of like a mob boss instead of an actual, you know, territorial galactic villain. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely feel like that was something that really added, you know, juvenile personality to his character that we simply just don't see with Saiyans throughout Dragon Ball. In fact, even though Caulifla was very strong, she didn't really have like a strong desire to go and even fight in the Tournament of Power. Like Kaba had to really like motivate her by bribing her with his Super Saiyan abilities to even get her interest. So in essence, because Caulifla wasn't like Goku completely where she's like, oh, big strong battle, I want to go out and fight, it really added this awesome mystique to her, because it's like, no, like, she fights for her own will. Like, she's not gonna just go in a battle because it's super fun to do. She has her own agenda in doing things, and because she goes, now Kale goes. So Kale and Caulifla from the very beginning had like this unique bond that I truly feel made them complement each other in perfect ways. And we'll go more in depth about Kale and Caulifla's bond in the future, as this video focuses way more on Caulifla. But I definitely feel like that is definitely something that made her character unique and strong. And I feel like if we were to touch on a little bit about the relationships here, guys, I feel like, you know, Caulifla's abilities, you know, in terms of the relationships she's had, she seems to be the type of character that if or when Dragon Ball Super returns, she could be a major character that could interact with both Goku, Kale, Vegeta, Kaba, you know, the Universe 7 Saiyans, Beerus, Champa, you know, Whis, the Angels. She's the type of character that because she doesn't really back down from anybody, she could really and honestly mix with a lot of characters in the show in terms of her personality. And I feel like something that is really interesting is actually dealing with Zeno. Caulifla seems like the type of character that, despite how strong Zeno is in his ability to just wipe people out from existence, she wouldn't really fear him. Like, she would just like kind of make fun of him looking like a Stewie Griffin looking football head, and it wouldn't really matter because she doesn't care. Like, she really just says what she wants. Like back in the Dragon Ball Super manga, if you guys remember, Caulifla was like insulting Champa and didn't even care. Like, she doesn't care like what level of authority you have. And I feel like that juvenile personality is definitely something that I feel makes her character so much better when it comes to interacting with others outside of just looking at what she does on her own. And I feel like her relationships with other characters is definitely something that makes her good. But obviously, guys, you can always have bad with good in a video. And when we talk about some negative things here, guys, we do have to address the fact that Caulifla did gain a lot of these Super Saiyan abilities way too quickly. You know, I understand that we live in an era where we have characters who do Ultra Instinct, Super Saiyan Blue, you know, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan God. There's so many Super Saiyan forms at this point. You know, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, for crying out loud, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. You know, when Goku and Vegeta and Mystic Gohan or Ultimate Gohan are so strong, you have to make other Saiyans very strong to complement or make them somewhat feasible in the plot. Because if you have those Saiyans being so weak, they really can't compete. And I know it's a cheap way to explain this, but it's kind of like going back to Dragon Ball Z, where like if Goten and Trunks couldn't go Super Saiyan, they would be so far behind in the plot that like they're just too far behind, and then their potential wouldn't seem as impressive as compared to the Saiyans that came before them. So to hype up their potential, you have to give them Super Saiyan early. And while I feel like that is a huge problem, it's kind of an unfixable problem that Dragon Ball has because its power scaling is just so ridiculous at this point anyways. However, despite this, I still feel like that tingly back thing was such a piss poor explanation for this, because you know, the mystique of just being angry or the mystique of just controlling Super Saiyans was just taken out when you add like this technical formula of how to become a Super Saiyan in this corny fashion. You know, that to me just completely killed that the mystique and allure of being a Super Saiyan, and Caulifla is definitely to blame for that. You know, but it was interesting seeing that despite the fact that she was able to go into these forms very quickly, when she went into her Super Saiyan Ascended form, we see that Caulifla still does have a lot of inexperience, despite the fact that she's able to adapt in battle very quickly, because she didn't realize the drawbacks in terms of speed, and she's still an incomplete fighter. And that was definitely something that was shown with her when her and Kale lost to Goku. So when you think about that, that's also an issue. In addition to this, Caulifla really doesn't have any unique attacks or abilities. She's kind of just a brawler, and we really don't know that much about her, you know, in both the manga and the anime, outside of the fact that she's a mob boss. Like, yeah, she's a mob boss and she pulls over people to steal their stuff, but other than that, what do we know about her? Like, how long has she been doing this? How old is she? Like, you know, like, how has she been in Saiyan prison jail? Like, there's so much more you could do with a mob boss, and I feel like that, along with the fact that we know nothing about her brother Renso, is something that I feel Dragon Ball Super gives her a very shallow background with. And obviously, if Super returns, they could obviously go more in depth about that in her background as well. And in addition to this, guys, I feel like one of the worst things about Caulifla's character is the main fact is that she's a one-dimensional character. And I really have to hit this with a home run here. When Caulifla, when it comes to Caulifla, all of her character development, when you truly analyze her, her character development truly comes in the form of just adapting in battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, her character development is like she adapts to fighting against Goku. She adapts to gaining Super Saiyan 2. She adapts to mastering Super Saiyan, or like, you know, fighting in sync with Kale. But her character development is limited. Like, she gains some respect for Kaba. Her relationship with Kale was already very strong. It's just that the show showed us more of their relationship throughout the Tournament of Power, but from what we've already seen, Kale and Caulifla were already extremely close in both the manga and the anime before the Tournament of Power. It's just the Tournament of Power really just put it on Broadway Street for us to see. So in reality, it didn't really do anything to their relationship. It just allowed us to see it. So in reality, Caulifla, although she was very protective of Kale and did all these nice things and was a student to Goku in many scenes, her character kind of played the exact same note over and over and over throughout the Tournament of Power. I'm a brash, you know, Saiyan punk that wants to learn how to fight, and I don't back down from people, and I really care about Kale, and I will really respect you if you show me how to do this strong technique. Outside of doing that, her character had no real growth or change. It was really kind of just a recycling bin of reusing those same, you know, character points of her character. And that's where I feel like ultimately Caulifla was weak in terms of just being the exact same thing over and over again. But outside of Caulifla being one-dimensional, guys, I feel like when we truly, you know, view all of the pros and cons, was she better for Dragon Ball? Well, when you look at all of the awesome fights that she has, I feel like the Tournament of Power was better with her in it than with her without it. And when you think about the battles with the Pride Troopers, the stuff with Kale, you know, yeah, she did have some cheap things to her character. Yeah, she is a Mary Sue-ish like character. But in reality, I feel like that coupled with Kefla, coupled with some awesome battles, she was ultimately better for Dragon Ball. And yes, there are a lot of things to nitpick about her character, but overall, I feel like we can all agree, or I can't say we can all agree, but I feel like a good amount of us could agree that Dragon Ball Super was better with her than without her. And if you do a little bit of research about Caulifla, you might find some interesting things that go way beyond what the show was able to hint about the things she likes to do. But other than that, guys, this has been a fun video for today. I really appreciate you guys listening to this Dear Dragon Ball Fans video. These videos are truly heaven because, you know, sometimes you just want to talk, and sometimes you really lose this feel of having like these podcasts, like in-depth just explanations and just, you know, free-flowing conversations about things that we really enjoy to talk about. So that's all we got for today, guys. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys, and let me know whether or not you love or hate Caulifla in the comment section below.